This is part 3 of chapter 5 of the Shepherd, the Flock of God handbook. We're going to start with paragraph number 17. Drunkenness. A judicial committee is required when there is a practice of drunkenness or a single incident of drunkenness that brings notoriety. A scriptural description of drunkenness can be found in the following references: Job 12, chapter verse 25, Psalms, the 107th chapter verse 27, Proverbs 20 verses 1, Proverbs 23 verses 29 through 35, and Isaiah 24th chapter verses 20. If an individual confesses to an elder, number 18. This is the 18th one. If an individual confesses to an elder that on one occasion he overindulged in alcohol to the point of drunkenness in the privacy of his own home and there was no notoriety, it may suffice for the elder to give strong counsel. In any case, the elder should inform the coordinator of the matter. Number 19, gluttony. A glutton routinely shows a lack of restraint, even gorging himself on food to the point of feeling very uncomfortable or becoming sick. Gluttony is determined not by someone's size, but by his or her attitude towards food. So I guess you could be a skinny glutton. Number 20, stealing and thievery. Though all stealing is wrong, the body of elders should use discernment in weighing the circumstances and the extent of the involvement in wrongdoing to determine whether it is a judicial matter, even though stealing is a crime. But moving right along, number 21, deliberate malicious lying, bearing false witness. Though all lying is bad, judicial action is taken only if there has been a practice of deliberate malicious lying. Malicious means deliberately harmful, harboring ill will or enmity. Lying that justifies judicial action involves more than just exaggerations or petty, misleading statements of relatively minor consequence or lying because of momentary pressure or fear of man. Number 22. Generally, elders should not consider administering discipline if a Christian charges another Christian with making false statements in a court dispute. For example, this may involve divorce, child custody, and support, and so forth. The Christian making the charge can express his concerns to the court that has the responsibility to determine what is truthful when rendering a judgment. Number 23, fraud and slander. Fraud is defined as the intentional use of deception, trickery, or perversion of truth for the purpose of inducing another to part with some valuable thing belonging to him or to give up a legal right. Slander is defined as a false prophet meant to do harm to the good name and reputation of another. Such talk is generally malicious. Slander is not identical to negative gossip. Negative gossip may be true, but slander is always false. Negative gossip requires counsel, but not judicial action. The congregation would not consider forming a judicial committee unless the offended Christian had taken steps 1 and 2 of Matthew, the 18th chapter, verses 15 and 16, and had initiated step 3 of Matthew, the 18th chapter, verses 17. Number 24. If asked, elders could participate in step 2, but they do not represent the body of elders. If the matter proceeds to step 3, any elders who weren't witnesses in step 2 could serve only as witnesses in step 3. They would not be used to serve on the judicial committee in step 3. Number 25. It is not the place of the elders to become arbitrators of financial agreements. They are not debt collectors. nor should they be involved in formulating contracts or written agreements, not even signing as witnesses to such. The same holds true should the matter reach to step 3. Number 26. The body of elders may first need to investigate before appointing a judicial committee. If so, the brothers involved in step 2 would not be used to investigate. They would be interviewed as witnesses. Number 27. It is not considered slander to make an accusation to the police, the court, the elders, or others who have an authority to look into matters and render a judgment. This is true even if the accusation is not provided. Number 28. Reviling. Reviling involves subjecting a person to insulting speech, heaping abuse upon him. The body of elders should weigh the circumstances and extent of wrongdoing so as to determine whether a judicial committee should be formed. Elders should not be quick to take judicial action unless the reviling is extreme, disrupts the peace of the congregation, and persists despite repeated counsel. Number 29. Obscene speech. Obviously, certain words are more offensive than others, certain four-letter words. Profanity is any kind of language that profanes. However, obscene speech involves sexually filthy expressions. Is the speech sexually explicit? Does it persist despite repeated counsel? This would include obscenities used both in written and oral communication, such as internet chat rooms, phone, sex, or email. Number 30, greed, gambling, extortion. Christians should avoid gambling in all its various forms, including lotteries. If a person makes a practice of gambling and after repeated counsel unrepentantly pursues a course of greediness, judicial action would be appropriate. Number 31. An individual continuing in employment directly involved with gambling or employment making him a clear accomplice or promoter of gambling would be subject to judicial action, usually after being allowed time, perhaps up to 6 months, to make the needed adjustments. In questionable cases, it is best to consult with the branch office. Oh my goodness. Number 32. If a business gives out prizes or money to winners of a contest or to potential customers for advertising, accepting the gift is an individual's decision to make. However, a person needs to be careful that accepting such a prize does not stir up greed. Are you kidding me? The elders do well not to involve themselves in what individuals do with regard to petty gambling solely for entertainment. They may need to give counsel if this becomes a cause of stumbling for others or affects the spirituality of the individual or the congregation. Number 33. A Christian who greedily and unrepentantly extorts a high bride price may be disfellowshipped from the congregation. Number 34. A damning refusal to provide materially for one's own family, leaving wife and children destitute when having the means to provide. Some of the factors of the body of elders should consider before forming a judicial committee are: does the Christian adamantly refuse to provide for his family, or is the failure to provide because of other factors such as health or financial difficulties? Is he doing what he reasonably can do to provide necessities for the family? Has counsel been previously given, and has there been an opportunity for the person to respond? Does his wife have material resources affording a secure life so that the family is not destitute? If the family is destitute, it is because they have rejected the family's head provisions by choosing to live apart from him. When a separation is involved, to what extent is the other made responsible? All right. So let's just stay tuned for the next part of the chapter 5 of Shepherd the Flock of God.